It
It is 6:59. We will start our building committee. 2.1, presentation by building group and on construction projects. License.
Good evening. Joseph Palacios of Brighton Group, President Moreno, Superintendent Sadvion, board members. Pleasure to be here this month. We do have representatives from Davila Construction. We got Tony Vargas and Tommy Canu in the audience. And with the Rofa Architects, we do have Mike Alex as well as Benjamin Borajo. They're here as well. I'm going to skim through the report. The first is just April highlights. As you know, the construction progresses. In the month of April, we did have 2 OAC meetings on April 6th and the 20th. Project submittals, there was a total of 23 that were submitted at our end of month reports, and requests for information, there were 10 total for the month. Rain weather delays, we did have a rain event on April 26, 2022.
I'm sorry, Mr. Palacios, I didn't get one of the booklets yet.
Should be on the 4th or 5th page that I'm on. The April, again, continuing on the highlights for the performing arts, we did process pay application number 8, certified by Rofa Architects, and processed, reviewed by Brighton Group and processed by the district. There were no allowance expenditures or contingency expenditures at that time. Work performed in April, you can see some of the images of the construction site. There was trenching on site, rebar installation. There was pumping at the rigging pit. We've had some rain in there, so everywhere we have a ditch or they'd had to pump out the water. There was some backfilling and compaction for plumbing and tying of rebar. They continued on to compact the trenches and the pad forming. They continued with it, and they added the stabilization at the rigging pit. They did proceed with some electrical groundwork. Backfilling has been ongoing, and on-site they have been receiving material for this phase of the contract, and there was a concrete pour in the month of April. Going into May, there's a snapshot. This is pretty much a dashboard. We executed a contract with Davila Construction as your CMAR contractor on August 12, 2021. Permits were issued both for partial and full by the city of San Benito. Those are the respective dates, October 4th and April 8th. The contract the schedule for the contract adopted is to run to August 25th, 2023. That will be next year in August. Currently, the completion percentage is 14.82. There are no change orders at this point. We are on payment application number 9. We did receive it today. Rofa Architects is reviewing. We're doing our review as well, and we'll continue to provide comments and then move it over to the district. There is a cumulative to the start of construction, 17 days of rain or bad weather delays. It's still pending final review and approval. That's normally done by a change order for time. They are allotted those rain days, but we got to go back, and we've been documenting those respective rain days and the impacts that they have, just to make sure that the days are accurate. ROFA would be going through that process as well as the Brighton Group. In May, we did have 2 OEC meetings on May 4th and May 18th. There were 9 project submittals and 6 total RFIs. In May, again, we were affected with some rain. That was a more heavier event on May 24th. We did have excessive water, so even through the 25th and the 26th, it was really challenging for the subcontractors to get in there. But that had been cleared out. Again, we are on pay application number 9. No current allowance expenditures or contingency expenditures. This month for work in progress, they continue to trench the site. There is an electrical rough in at the CMU, pouring of grout, tying of rebar, compaction of trenches. They continue to form the pad site. There is more stabilization at the rigging pit. Again, more electrical ground work, underground work. And again, we continue to receive construction material on site. rough-in at restrooms in Area B, and the installation of the CMU. As you can see, when you drive by there, the CMU walls are going up. Right now, it's all at the flex rooms, the main bathrooms on the first floor, and the back of stage dressing rooms and so forth. We did have, again, we continue with geotech testing every time it's required. Robert Kistner is doing all your geotech. We did have some testing on May 3rd, 5th, 11th, 13th, 19th, and the 24th. Some of the milestones, obviously the OAC meetings, we did have a meeting here at the district to go over. One was just to deliver the color boards and samples. The other was to review all the security as well as audio, video, IT. There was early on last year, we did an assessment with staff. We made sure that we accounted for all these special systems within the building. We went back to them. We provided all the construction documents. They are in place. What's going on right now, and we've been working with Mr. English and his staff, as well as your security, Mr. Cavazos, and all of the staff here at the district to make sure that all the systems are where they need them. So we've delivered the plans. They've had them for about a week or two. We'll be receiving comments from the district, and we'll just make sure if there's any adjustments that need to be made, we'll make them at that appropriate time. But for the most part, we've covered more than 90% of what was expected, which was district-driven even at the very beginning.
So that's for computers and...
IT, audio, video, and security.
So you're consulting with Mr. English, security, and KSBG?
Yes, correct,
Okay.
correct. All plan sheets, we provided them for the last 2 weeks. They do reflect what the initial request was. However, there are still, we want to make sure that all the camera locations are where they need to be. If there's any change in the technology, we can make those necessary adjustments so we can have that final AVIT package. This is outside of the auditorium. All of the systems within the auditorium is accounted for. It's really everything outside in the corridors, the lobby area, and your flex rooms and all.
So this will be built in?
Yes, absolutely. All the rough ends is factored in already. All we're trying to make sure as CMU is going up, their respective points of where they want them, they're where they need to be, and any other systems or anything else that they're requesting to make sure that it's accounted for in the plans, so we can communicate that in the submittals to the contractor, so all of this is done during construction, not post-construction.
Okay,
Mr.
good.
Palacios, may
appreciate
I interject?
Yes.
So KSBG, as well as our technology director and security, and I attended the meeting as well, Mr. Palacios was there. We also had someone from tech.
Telepro, they're your subcontractor for the auditorium. They're working with Double the Construction.
So it was a collaborative effort. We wanted to see and ensure that we didn't have all this wiring or all this piping on the outside for this state-of-the-art facility that we'll end up with. So it was bringing everybody together, and everybody was very instrumental. Every player around the table was very instrumental in getting us to really focus on what we needed for our kids. And then later on, we're going to talk about budget as well.
Correct.
That's going to get deeper.
Yes.
Thank you.
Continuing on with the photos, again, these are images of your flex rooms. This is another image. That's your wall separator between each flex room. If you can go on to the next.
Why is there so much space between the walls?
Sound control.
Okay.
Along with those, there's going to be acoustical panels on each one of those flex rooms, so it's definitely going to be able to buffer whatever programming you have in each one of those flex rooms, but we just wanted to indicate that. Next slide. That's just the overall site that was done a few days ago. Again, we do have representatives from Davila Construction if anybody has a particular question in regards to construction. We do have, next image. Again, that's another image from the backside of your flex rooms. Some action items that we discussed last time. We did meet with your staff on all the AVIT security systems. We will be finalizing any adjustments if there are any final, I'm sorry about that. If there are any adjustments to that plan, if anything, there's going to be relatively little, but we'll make sure that that's done prior to anything before we actually put those systems in place. We are needing a license agreement with the Drainage District. It's a minimal fee that the Drainage District number 3 requires. This is for your outfall of your drainage retention pond on site. There is an outfall. We are looking at upsizing that outfall into their system. It's a simple license agreement. We did it initially on when we did the crossing. So there's a small paperwork that needs to be done, identify who's going to be the signer of that agreement, and bring that over for action item to the board. We'll coordinate with the district to make sure that we get that license agreement done. The other is we continue to work on this project. It's a very complex project. Everything from communications, project status, submittals, requests for information is posted on Owner Insight, which all the teams are a part of. So it's a communication-based software system that we host that everything's integrated within it. So communication at all times between subs, contractor, and all. We continue to manage it. We do have some upcoming OAC meetings on June 15th. But we do have a color board, and I understand it's in the back room, so I won't go into the slideshow on the color board unless you choose to. We do have Representatives Mike, Alex to kind of go over the exhibit and talk about that scheme. I'll jump over to the natatorium so that we could reserve that to the back of the room. On your natatorium, similar, some highlights. We did have an OAC meeting on the 6th and the 20th. For the natatorium, there were only 2 submittals in the month of April. RFIs, there were 3, and we did have the same respective rain day on the 26th. We did go through pay application number 8 for the natatorium in the month of April. No allowances or expenditures were done for that month. Work performed a little bit different. Excavation, a lot of dewatering. Obviously, they're digging out a pool, and we did have some rain events, so they'd had to dewater the area. Rough and electrical, all the pesticide treatment, rebar installation, and the assembly of the filtration system was done. There was a delivery of all the gravel bedding and structural steel, and all excess dirt was spread out. This is an image of the complete foundation of all of the offices minus obviously the pool. It's a very, very deep foundation. When they poured, I believe, April 1st, it should have been May 1st. They poured 600 yards on that pour. On the
Mr.
snapshot,
Palacios,
yes.
excuse me, I have a question. Maybe I misunderstood. With the pool, what material was the pool out of? Was it,
The Murtha system?
were you using a stainless steel?
Yeah, stainless steel. It's not a plaster pool. High end. Again, Mike can kind of talk a little bit like the idea of why a Murtha system was considered. It's
Correct.
a very, very durable pool system that it will meet the threshold for soils and all that. We're not going to have issues with like your traditional pools, plaster pools. So
Correct.
it's definitely a state-of-the-art system.
Okay.
So snapshot on the dashboard. Again, we executed a contract August 12th. Notice to proceed was given on the 25th. All permits had been issued, partial and full, October 4th of last year and April 8th for all the vertical. We are slated on this one for substantial completion April 14, 2023, and the date of completion is scheduled for May 19, 2023. Currently, we're at about 16.6%. There had been no change orders, and we are on pay application number 9 right now. We do have their same respective rain days. However, it's being reviewed by the Brighton Group as well as ROFA Architects will confer with the district and provide that respective change or present it to the district with our comments and then have an action item for those respective days. In May, we did have 2 OC meetings, same May 4th, May 18th. There were 34 project submittals, 5 RFIs, and again, the same respective rain days, May 24th, and then we did have excessive water on the 25th and 26th. That is an image of the pour. That's wrapping up the pour on that. We do have pay application number 9 that we're reviewing along with ROFA Architects. No allowance expenditures or contingency expenditures at this point. Some of the milestones, May 12th was a concrete pour, and we did have the OEC meetings. Again, same respect for the performing arts. We do have the color board as well for the natatorium that we'll go over. ROFA was prepared to go over their that presentation. These are just some final images of currently where we stand on the foundation. All the block has been laid out, and the block subcontractor is ready to move that along as well. Same thing, we did go through the AVIT with all your staff, making sure that, again, within the construction, we're accounting for all those special systems to make sure it's done within construction, not post-construction. We did talk about the action item of the drainage permit, same thing. It's the same detention facility for both projects. There is a request for a change order deduct to GMP1, which was the initial GeoPure site preparation and civil. The reason for that is it's about $84,000. There's some GeoPures that were not installed in the original GMP #1 for the purpose that we have to do that post when we get the MRTA system in. So there is a deduct on GMP1 that we're going to be wanting to process with the district, and all we're doing is swapping it and adding into GMP3. It's just relative paperwork that we need to do, no additional cost. We're just literally swapping it from 1, closing out GMP1 to put it into 3. Just because of it, there's a sequencing we have to follow, and it'd be more appropriate if we move it into the GMP3 and take it out of GMP1. We'll provide the paperwork just to review so that it's a wash. It goes from one to the other. The other is the easement. We have met with the city of San Benito. We believe it's in the best interest of the district. We talked about doing an easement on just water lines within there that allow us to bring the meters closer to the buildings. The backflow preventers will allow us to downsize it a bit and not go to that larger size based on the water line that they have adjacent to the property. We've been working with the city, so it's something that we think the district should consider. And really, it's just issuing that work to a licensed civil engineer. Whoever the district would like to use it, we have no preference. It's just meets and bounds, deed, and just process the paperwork so that we bring it back to the board for consideration, deeded over. They will be responsible for all water lines up to the meter site, which is in the best interest of the district as well. Any maintenance will be at their cost, not the district's cost. So we'll coordinate with the district, with the main office to just get you the paperwork, and then get some direction of who will do the easement documents and go from there.
So does that mean that they would take some of our land to make it easement? Some of the property that we already own?
Yeah, it's just an easement. It won't be fee simple, and it's literally where the water lines run and your fire hydrants. Again, they'll be responsible for those systems. It will be at their cost. Any maintenance for the future. The systems that do belong to the school district will be the roadway, curb, gutter, everything else, parking lot and all.
But easements are automatically already on every piece of property, so it's not like they're taking property from us.
No, and it's literally
It's
for the
already
purpose for
assigned.
them to have the permission to service those lines without having to fall back on the district to have to do.
Right, so it's not like we're losing property, it's already property, it's assigned for easement.
Correct.
Mr. Palacios, can you do a timeline on the pictures and send them to Isabel?
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
Has
yes.
she put them on the internet,
Yeah,
Isabel?
we left the disc 2 weeks ago, and then we're gonna do an update to these, and we'll be issuing them to her.
I appreciate that. because
Absolutely.
People refer to it and nothing's being done, and
Yeah, no, absolutely. We'll make sure all images are transferred to them.
I'll tell them to, never mind, I'll tell
No,
them to
no,
drive
no,
by.
No, we'll drop them off nonetheless. We did do them by USB drive. It's a little easier, or we'll create a Dropbox, but all the pictures here, we'll make sure. We have a whole, this is just a highlight. There's hundreds of pictures that we document every day, but we'll give her the best ones.
Where is the district going to be putting that video? Is it on the
District website.
Facebook page, website? Is it like a page just for construction, or is it gonna be easily accessible so the public can see?
The webmaster has created a new page for construction projects, not just bond projects, but construction projects in general. So we're
On the
saying that.
website,
Yes.
Okay. Can you all put it on Facebook also?
We can share the link once all the images are up.
Okay. Can you put it?
Yes, Twitter too, please?
We'll have our staff.
TikTok?
Can you put it on Twitter?
All that's left is a color board review. That could be done in the back where, again, everyone's available if there are any questions. We continue to move along. Unfortunately, the challenges is somewhat of the weather. We're hoping, it's been hot. We're hoping it continues to dry out. On the dewatering, I do want to emphasize, we are going to a more aggressive dewatering system for the natatorium. Just because of the amount of rainwater we've had, the water table has kind of come up a bit. The unfortunate portion is they dewater, and then all of a sudden we get a rain, and they're at it again. So it's been challenging for Davila. I just want to thank them for they're being aggressive as they can be to deal with one of those types of issues that are just really unforeseen, but they're working through it. Again, we're here for any questions. If not, I know Mike, Alex, and the team's ready to go over that the color board.
I do have a couple of questions. I saw some colors here. Are we as a board going to be able to decide what colors, or did our administration already decide, or what?
Nobody has decided. We left the color boards here on the 18th, I believe, when we were here last. We did provide exhibits, wanted to make sure that we gave you ample time. They all reflect the original schematics that were done, and they've been out there for quite some time, but we definitely wanted to give the boards respect to look at them, make comments to them, anything that we could tweak. This is the last chance we do. The contractor is awaiting these submittals, so as soon as we do that part, we'll release the submittal so they can start ordering a lot of this material.
Ms. Servillon, can you do a committee and pick the colors, or, I mean,
If we do a committee, then they're gonna take out my Harlingen Cardinal red colors,
yes, sir.
See red.
and we don't want that to happen, okay? But the colors,
Security.
Security.
Out, please.
be the first arrest, right?
We also,
First arrest.
we also expect you to be wearing purple when we
That's
open
right,
these
that's
buildings.
There is a lot of purple in the building, so and gold too. So and those colors have been in from the very beginning. I mean, they've been in all of our renderings, so we're not surprising y'all with anything, I don't think, with strange colors. But we do want your input, and we would like your approval of those, because we do need to release those colors. There's long lead times for some of these materials, and so we need to have that approved as soon as you can. And if we can get over there, or I can bring the color board here, whatever's your preference. There's 3 boards.
I think Oscar has a great idea on forming a committee, and maybe including students as well, like the student councils from the different campuses. I don't know how soon we have to get this done.
So it is time sensitive, and the only reason they didn't proceed is because I wanted the board to see the colors and see what you all thought about the colors. So that's where we are right now, because there will be some material that will take a while to get here. So we do have them back there. I know that those color palettes have been available. I know that the purple is all over the place in one of our buildings. In the natatorium, we have, everything is blue. There's accents in gold or yellow. But still, I would like for you all to view them and just come together so that we can push forward our final decision so they can start ordering those materials.
Yeah, unfortunately, and the reason, just to overemphasize the timetable, COVID has put an amazing strain on materials themselves. So I'll give you an example. Just for brick alone, we're looking at February, potentially February.
And I'll be honest with you.
We have to put these orders
We've already
in.
put the brick in line, so please don't try to change the brick on us.
I'm fine
The
with,
brick is awesome.
I'm
Yeah.
fine with the colors you all choose. I mean,
There's just so
we need to
long
move
lead
forward.
times that we didn't have a choice.
We can revisit the color schemes again when we go back into executive, but they are there. They've been there since the last committee meeting.
Yeah.
And I'm happy to me and Ben are happy to walk you through those just whenever you're ready.
The brick's not red, it's purple brick.
Mr. Palacios,
Yes.
I'm going to ask a hard question, but I think it's important. The area where these buildings are right now, where you're constructing, it was used for agriculture. The last time that you all were here, you mentioned that you were hitting water and that you all were having to drain some of that water and do whatever it is that you all need to do as construction companies. The question that I have is, do you foresee, and I think that you would have told us already, if there were any issues that were going to happen because of where these two buildings are being built? Because the common question that the community has and the concern is, they're saying, this is a low water area, so our buildings are gonna get destroyed in the future. So you, as a professional in construction, I'm asking you for your feedback on that.
Well, that would include all our structural engineers, it'll include our architects, it'll include our contractor, but we were amazed when the Davila Construction started the construction. They didn't hit water until we thought they were gonna hit water much sooner than what they even hit water at that point. I think it was somewhere around the 12-foot, 13-foot at some point. About 12 feet, when we finally hit water in that respective site. Everyone has looked at it. That's the reasons why we went with the MRTA system. It's not that the site is bad. You can dig 12 feet anywhere in San Benito, you're gonna hit water. You're gonna hit a water table, you're gonna hit it. We're in the valley, it's just the way it is. In respect to the site, that is why there was a lot of emphasis on the site itself. The fact of the manner that we went about the plans on the civil side as well, the introduction of geopiers, as well as, some ground treatment systems in there, as well as the finished pool. If we had saw something, there's gonna be a concern anytime you build a pool. In this case, we believe that, the site didn't pose a great level of concern that maybe some had voiced. You have immediate outfall systems, you have a ditch right there adjacent. The manner that we're going to sheet flow water from your parking, as well as all your cover gutter inlets, it goes straight to a channel, goes straight to a detention facility, and outfalls out. Even though we get rain, it's because we have no asphalt on the ground, we have no concrete on the ground, only where the pad site is. That is why we have these challenges in the interim. We have talked about potentially requesting that we look at the civil component, the final civil components, the inlets and the final detention, so we can help us channel water out of there faster. But in regards to the overall structure of the facilities, they're going to be sound. I mean, our structural engineers and everyone have designed a good sound structure, sound building. I understand the concern. And when you put that much money and you're going to have kids and families in there, you do want to take that. It's quite normal to ask the big question or the hard one.
And I would just add too that there are soils dynamics that we're dealing with. There's plasticity, and that's a technical term for the movement of the soil depending on how much moisture is in the soil. And so to mitigate that, have the geopiers in there. It's a real unique foundational and ground conditioning that goes on to keep the soil from moving depending on how much moisture is in the soil. The MRTA system is going to be fantastic. I mean, we're already hearing rumors, and I won't name names, but we're already hearing rumors of other natatoriums that have just recently built that they're already getting cracks in their pools. This will not happen in a stainless steel pool. And so it's really important for here in the Valley to have this kind of pool system, and so I think it's going to be beneficial for y'all. Would we have built a concrete pool on another site and this site is less worthy of any other site? I don't think that's really true. I mean, I think that this is the Rio Grande Valley. All soils are dynamic, particularly in San Benito where you're near Resacas, that 100 years ago were outlets for the Rio Grande, and so they overflowed their banks all the time and deposited silty soil all in this area of San Benito and in Harlingen along the arroyo. So, I mean, it's part of the condition that we live in. We've been building on farmland for hundreds of years. This is no different than any other farmland that surrounds San Benito. So, because we have new technologies that can deal with it, so I think you're going to be just fine.
Mr. Alex, I know you said you used the word unique to describe the geopiers, but just to be 100% transparent and everything, unique does not mean substandard.
No, it means above standard.
Okay.
Above standard, thank you.
And
Thank
then
you.
I understand that all these companies would not put their name on a building that they think would crumble. Exactly.
Yes, that's true.
So I guess what I'd like to say is this, you know, when you think of San Benito or the Rio Grande Valley, I think that most important, there's areas that are lower and that are more apt to flood, or that water will be stagnant there. And we saw it just recently in different areas around San Benito. And that probably would be more my concern, you know, about that area. I do know that the stainless steel pools are superior. I mean, that is a great way to go, so I am 100% that, you know, that is the way to go for us. But I do know that with the water and the way that it rains here in the valley, in certain areas, that's what we're going to encounter.
Yeah, you get it all at once usually. There's no doubt about that. But there are low spots on that site, but there are no low spots where we're building because we've built up the site, I think, elevated the site 4 or 5 feet, I think, above all the surrounding area. So you're actually a few inches higher than the elementary school nearby, and it's never flooded. So I mean, you're going to be okay. And we are right, as Joseph has says, we're right near an outfall. So the water's going only got one place to go, and that's to that outfall. So you're going to be okay.
And if I could add, part of the civil package did account for the queues that would come off from that site. And that's why we went to a larger retention pond, just so that we can account for all the water that will sheet flow into there. And not necessarily, even if the ditch was full, can hold the water that falls on that site nonetheless. And then we do have the swell system. So it is a very profound civil plan. One of the things that Davila keeps expressing is that if some of those components could be added in early on at the entrance and the detention, it would help at least control some of this and outfall it much faster. So typically after a rainfall, it's 1 to 2 days and they're up and going, and that's because we have open ditches. As we pour all the foundation on it, it's going to run even faster. So it's just a challenge when we're at this stage of construction. So.
Because it's about timing. I mean, the water table rises and falls.
Can you come to the mic?
Yeah, the water table rises and falls depending on how much rain we have at any given time. Right now, it's fairly high because we had some rain recently. But the first geotech reports that were done many years ago showed it at about a 6-foot water table, but we had a 12-foot when we were digging out the pool. So it just depends on how much rain we get at one time, because it all percolates into the soil and then it rises and falls. So timing it just right for the contractor is going to be, let's all pray for no rain just in that area. The farmers want the rain, but we don't need it there. It kind of we're hoping that we don't get any more rain until they pour all the rest of the stuff at the pool, and of course the rigging pits too, because those are low spots as well. So,
Given some of the rain we've had, though, we haven't had a mass flooding there. I mean, like you said, they've been able to get back to work within
that's all because they're
48 hours or whatever.
They're pumping it out. They're mitigating and pumping it out.
Yeah, we have it going into the swell systems right now, and then the drainage district has allowed us to outfall it into their ditch. It's substantial, but the rainwater that we're concerned about is the one that's received once they trench out and they're getting ready to form and pour. That's the rainwater which required the contractor to go back in there, recompact. So they're going through some phases where they're doing double, triple work because of those challenges that the rain has caused. However, it's Mother Nature, it's just one of those.
just in time for hurricane season.
Yeah, well, that's why they're moving as quick on pouring as much as they can to get a hard surface on the ground.
Mr. Palacios, I just want to say one thing, because I know in the infancy stages, this was a concern, of course, because, where we're at. So all this stuff was brought up, in the infancy stages of these buildings and so on and so forth, and the committee came together and decided to put it there. But I have to, once again, just thank you, all the guys that were part of it, all the contractors, architects, everybody that was part of this whole group, because they went through all that stuff. They went through it and they really researched the area, and they felt comfortable that was the right decision, for the committee to make, so we can have these two, state-of-the-art facilities, and that's the reason why a pool was chosen. So, yeah, I mean, it was a very compromising, very difficult decision to make, to go that route. But of course, like the contractor said, with the technology nowadays, I mean, we can do a lot of great things, So, But yeah, I mean, I've seen you guys, you know, struggle with this whole situation for a long time, and there
Yeah,
was rumors, I mean, there was not rumors, but there was statements that it's a flood zone, whatever. So, but at the end of the day, we all took that into consideration, and this is what we did. So, you know, I just want to thank all you guys for the fruits of your labor and all the research that went into it to make sure that we have sound buildings.
Yeah,
So,
one of the things you don't see, you see us every time on these board meetings, but there's some very impeccable teams that Rolfa has assembled with WTI on the pull systems, they're the best of the best. You got Studio Red, who they do nothing but performing arts. So there's a lot of people behind these teams that are, they're as good as it gets, so there's good teams.
Well, I would like to say that I did go out there 2 times, one time with Mr. Silva, one time on my own, and there was a lot of water, you know, where it's not, where we did build it up in the areas where there are buildings, but surrounding it. So personally, in my car, I could not go in.
No.
And I have an SUV, but in Mr. Silva's truck, we could get in. And so I think that's something that we're gonna have to work on later because of, you know, I mean, we're gonna have people going in and out.
That's a civil package that we'd like to address.
Okay.
We have those cut sheets already. Those plans are completed. I would like to deliver at least those elements to the board and decide about going out for bid for those elements. That will fix that entire issue, rather than wait till the buildings are further along.
Yeah.
It would be in our best interest to add those components in early on. That's
And see,
what we're
so that's
proposing.
what brought back my mind to, it floods there, you know, and there are certain areas in San Benito where that happens,
Yeah,
or the valley. Yeah.
yeah.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Palacios.
Mr. Palacios? The area where it was built, according to FEMA, it does say that it's a flood zone area. I remember talking to y'all, and I'm sure you remember too, about the concerns of the community that when we were building these buildings, that their neighborhoods are gonna get flooded because the buildings are gonna be higher, like you said, they're gonna be at higher level than the elementary school is. And what I'm hearing from you is you all have taken a lot of measures to make sure that the water flows to where it's supposed to flow so that it doesn't go, what I'm assuming now is, so it doesn't go into our neighborhoods.
So the way water naturally runs, when it was farmland, it would run northeast towards it. So it runs the opposite direction right now. The way the buildings were planned out, it took an account, as well as a civil, to capture that sheet flow of water into a swell system through inlets and allow it to go where it naturally goes, which is, again, northeast. So it actually runs away from your neighborhood area as well as your elementary school. So
So
there's,
that means it's draining straight into that canal right there, right? Yeah, so that's not even gonna
yeah.
affect.
Typically, if you look now, where the water, it is on the east side.
Gotcha.
It's in that open farmland. The school district did well by purchasing that additional land. It could be, in the future, it could be added retention. Not that I'm saying you need it, because we did account for a lot of those queues of water that could fall in that area and hold them in a drainage facility. So no, there's, our civil engineers, they looked at negative impacts to school as well as the neighborhood area. We do have a set of those documents. You could see the civil plans. It shows you every inlet. It shows you where a swell system is, where a culvert is installed. It's all underground, and it channels straight exactly where you want it to go, where it used to go, which is northeast.
Do you think that this is going to be an issue, being that it is built in a flood zone area? Do you think it's going to be an issue getting insured? Will it be more costly to us? How can it affect us because of the
Well-
location that it's built in?
Well, when it was a farmland, we changed the entire contour of that entire site. And that, just to kind of re-explain what Mr. Alex was saying, the site is no longer a farmland. It needs to be certified again because it no longer has the original slopes of what one would call a low-lying area. It wasn't in a flood zone. We would have never gotten a permit from the city of San Benito if it was. So the site has been changed, and I don't think it's good. I mean, it wouldn't hurt to have flood insurance. I don't know if there'll be a requirement for that. I doubt it. On the manner of, we probably still follow whatever the elementary, we're much higher. So whatever the requirement is on that facility, it'll be no different to these facilities, or maybe less than. But the entire site is no longer at the topography of what you originally had. So getting a recertification of the site is one process that decertifies that as a low-lying area because it's all changed now. No different than any plaza or, they recertify their area.
Okay, so to your knowledge, I'm thinking this out and I'm trying to understand what you're saying, but you said that, and I agree, I just want to make sure that I'm understanding correctly, that the city would have never granted the permit and stuff if it was a flood zone, but somewhere, somehow, and again, rumors, maybe not rumors, whatever, it was stated that it was. But regardless of the fact, now that all this additions and stuff that have been conducted, you are talking about now the city needs to reevaluate, or who needs to reevaluate?
No. That's just if you're going out for insurance. Obviously, your site is no longer the way it originally
Correct.
is. All the topography is different, all the systems are in place, contours are different now.
Okay.
Doing another post-construction, we can do certify the site again with its existing topography and submit that to FEMA, which will change, obviously, the entire site of that appropriate classification. Because as you're looking at it right now, it's not taking into account what has been done on site.
Correct.
This is obviously pre-construction.
So it would essentially be the same classification as Dr. Garza, the elementary school.
Or less, or even better.
But Mr. Palacios, wouldn't like the tax district be the ones to resurvey?
I mean, I think it would be an engineer, surveyor. You go through the process when you decertify some areas that have changed over time, changing of the FEMA maps, you go through the county to do that. But in respect to the site, I know people keep saying flood zone. Well, who said it was in a flood zone? And,
Ms. Lopez.
you know.
It was on the FEMA website. When I looked it up, it was on the FEMA
But
website.
again, based on what we planned from civil, the finished floor elevation and all that, we're outside of the flood zone. So the site is outside of the flood zone based on what we're building, not what was there, because what's there is, what was on FEMA maps is no longer there.
So what's important to note is when you're talking about insurance, insurance does send an engineer, an adjuster, but it's an engineer typically, that even happens for homes, and they'll tell you what it's going to cost you. Like, I needed to replace my roof at one time in order to be insured at a certain level. So, I mean, that would be where it would come from, an engineer. So, but then, once we level the ground, once we do whatever we have to do, and we have the canal there on the side where it's supposed to drain into, we should be ready to go.
So did this cost us additional funds because you had to put in all the GeoPiers and you had to do all these changes?
If I can answer that, please do.
The geopiers are less expensive than concrete. If we would have put conventional concrete in, it would have been much more expensive. Geopiers is this innovative new way of doing that's been used all over the areas that have this type of soil. And so the geopiers saved us $2.4 million.
It would have been more had it depends. We could have been hit with additional costs had we had the steel and did not do the geopiers with the increase of cost of steel and everything else that we've been hit, the construction industry has been hit with. So it would have been a great level of concern, even post. So when you talk.
And I would say to Ms. Lopez, your point about the flood zone, it's been a long time since I looked at that flood map, but I do believe that there is one contour that runs through the site. It's closest to the expressway that is zoned in the flood zone. That's not the entire site. It's just one small triangular section within your 20 or 40 acres that you own out there. So it's not the whole site. There is a flood zone portion, and we're not building on that.
Plus, with all the additions that you all did with bringing up the soil and so forth, it wouldn't even be considered a flood zone anymore, correct?
It's not going to be a flood
If it
zone.
was ever considered.
It's not going to be a flood zone anymore.
Gotcha.
Did you all know that we were given the opportunity to build elsewhere? I know that when speaking to the city, I was told that they had given us the opportunity to build where the event center is going to be built, and we could have saved $1 million.
Again, that was after the board had decided where the site was going to be located. That's not our decision.
I got it. Thank you. Thank you all so much. Appreciate it.
Yeah. And being that, the reason I could think Dr. Carmen at that point in time, they were nowhere near construction, so we'd still be waiting. Had we been waiting, cost of construction just skyrocketed. These buildings, look at on the indoor, I think, I was looking at a document just to insure that building, they're already appraising that at $12 million. So you can see the index is dramatically changing. So, yeah,
Right, as it is, we're already 6 years into the project, so
not 6.
Not yet, but by completion time probably.
by completion time.
We
By
started
2023, it'll be 6 years.
2019, 2023, that's 4 years. That'll be 4, not 6.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Palacios.
I stand corrected. Thank you, 4 years. Well, and even then, 4 years is still a long time to me.
Well, we didn't have plans to start with, so all the planning, that was a good year, year and a half. So it's, we're in building for 4 years.
And when it comes to school construction like this, every single part has to be approved by the board.
Everything.
So that,
We take 100% direction from the board. We don't dictate the pace or anything, so. And then every professional has their respective time to generate their document specifications, which again, it's not a simple building.
Thank you so much for your presentation, and thank you,
Mr.
gentlemen, for all you do.
Appreciate it, thank you.
We will.
Thank you.
Any other concerns for Mr. Palacios or questions from the board? Okay, we'll go to 2.2. Mr. President, we include 2.2, 2.3 together for executive or?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
2.2 and.
2.2, 2.3 will be, the board may convene to close session under one or more of the following exceptions within the Texas Government Code, consultation with attorney section 551.071. It's 7:45.
So if I
Mr.
may,
Solik,
Yes.
just
for the
as,
record,
Go ahead.
I'm sorry, go ahead, Mr. President, go ahead, excuse me.
I'm sorry, I was gonna say, we're opting to go into executive session to discuss items 2.2 and 2.3, but I was also gonna recommend that maybe possibly we go ahead and discuss that. Is 2.4 gonna be discussed in executive, or can we discuss that now?
We can do it now.
Okay.
2.4?
That way
That way
people
we
that don't
can.
need to wait can go.
Yep.
You can, Mr. Board President, you can go into executive on 2.2, 2.3, and 2.4. In relationship to 2.4, you would add the exception of the security devices.
That's right.
Okay, so let's just do it in executive.
2.4 will go into the second section also.
And that would be item, I want to make sure we're identifying the specific exception for the record. Mr. Silva, it would be 551.076, as well as 551.071.
There you go, yes.
And 551.074.
Okay, sections 551.076, certain board deliberations concerning security audits and devices. And section 551.074.
There you go. I think we listed them all. Is that correct, Mr. Weller?
I think we have.
All right.
071, 074, and
Yep.
076.
7:47.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. So, 3.1, committee concerns? None. Next item, adjournment, 9:08.